Be questioning Secretary Clinton later today when she appears before the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Republican Eliana Ros-Lehtinen, she is of Florida and is the committee's former chairwoman. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you, Heather.
Now, before we get to what you plan to ask the Secretary later today, I want to take a look at her response today when questioned about the administration's response immediately following the attack. And then I want to also take a look at her response on September 14th. Listen.
I was pretty occupied about keeping our people safe, doing what needed to be done in the follow-up to Benghazi. I really don't think anybody in the administration was really focused on that so much as trying to figure out, what we should be doing. And, I wasn't involved in the talking points process. We've seen rage and violence directed at American embassies over an awful internet video that we had nothing to do with. It is hard for the American people to make sense of that because it is senseless and it is totally unacceptable.
Sounded a lot like the talking points, don't you think? And were you satisfied with her response today in regards to the administration's response?
Well, I'm very dissatisfied with the way that the presentation has been going, because the American people deserve answers, and we still are no closer to the truth. What happened in that prolonged terrorist attack? We're talking about over 7 hours of a firefight where if she knew exactly what was going on, where was the order to go help them? Even send a flight overhead so that the terrorists could see that there's a U.S. response. There was no response. Who decided to not respond at all? Also, the ARB, which is the review of the Benghazi attack, never interviewed Secretary Clinton. How could this review be considered thorough when the person at the top was never interviewed? What kind of an investigation is that? And this video narrative is still a great puzzle for all of us. Time and time again, even the President, Secretary Clinton, Ambassador Rice kept talking about the video, and now they're distancing themselves from the video as if that narrative never happened. Come on, you take responsibility, right, and then at the same time, she walks back from the responsibility.
And she didn't even close the door on it completely today, listening to all the testimony so far. She said even today there are questions being raised as to what was being done and why they were doing it. So my next question to you has to do with request for additional aid and security there in Benghazi. She said that there was no denial in requesting additional security and that there was no delay in decision making. But take a look at this. These are the publicly broadcast incidents, publicly reported incidents. We have a list of them that had happened in the area. Those unreported at this time frame we don't have. But look at this report. Between May 22nd and June 18th that we reported right here on Fox News, 4 specifically, but still we did nothing. And then we hear from Secretary Clinton today saying that she didn't see the request, basically handing off the responsibility. What's your thought on that?
Incredible. It stretches the credibility of the American public to think that she could once again say, I'm responsible, and yet say, oh, I never saw any cables requesting additional security. That never came through my desk. Had I known that, we would have given it added security. I mean, it's just incredible in the literal sense of the word, meaning not credible. Also, what is not credible is that the State Department has given information leading the public to believe that heads rolled at the State Department because of mismanagement on this Benghazi terrorist attack, when in fact no one has lost their job. They shifted the deck chairs and everyone is still employed, and yet the people think, oh boy, accountability really took place in the State Department.
And I know that
is not true.
And I know that's what you plan to ask her today when you get the chance a little bit later on. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your insight.